I'm mad they didn't have my chicken corn chowder at Wawa. But anyway, so I was in the chat, Dr. T. Hassan Johnson's room, and he was talking about Kevin Samuel's death. And, shout out to the brothers that, acknowledged me in the room. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson acknowledged me, I appreciate the thanks and the keep doing what you're doing and the support and all that other stuff. Now, with that said, I'm going to have to criticize, and this isn't directed at anyone in particular, but I'm going to have to criticize brothers because you all are just as scramble-brained as the women. Okay? You come on and you're talking about the matriarchy, the gynocracy, and all that stuff. All the stuff that we're aware of. We know what goes on with that. The women want to run shit. They boss bitch. They don't have any respect for black men. Misandry. There's a deep-seated contempt and all that stuff, right? Moving past that. But you guys point out the matriarchy and how boys are raised in the matriarchy and everything. And you guys don't recognize that you have these matriarchal beliefs within yourself. And it happens every time we get to talking about the money. You guys keep trying to present the spiritualness and, all this sort of virtue signaling. And, there's other ways to define manhood and be a man. And it's not about what you produce and it's not about what you provide and all that. Right. And all that's going to lead is right into the area of why black women should respect you in the first place. You guys want to be intrinsically valued. And it doesn't work like that. Not when you're talking about patriarchy. Now, if you want to talk about some other system, which is what the feminists are talking about, they're like, we don't want patriarchy, right? And they try to present this pseudo fake ass, feminism, egalitarianism, where at the end of the day, it's just going to look like male responsibilities, devoid of leadership, and women have the final say. That's ultimately what they want, because obviously that would benefit women. But you all come in the room and you guys act like you want it to be 50-50 egalitarian and you want to be valued in some other way. And it shouldn't be about how you produce and provide and everything else. And then you turn around and you act like you want to be respected like other races of men are respected. And it doesn't work like that. Even I have gotten on Dr. T. Hassan Johnson about this in the past, and he did acknowledge my comment. Because I don't know what it is about a lot of brothers where they have this disconnect where when we have conversations about money, y'all want to sit there and talk about, oh, I'm looking at my third eye, I serve the Most High, I got the sweet twinkle of white Jesus in my eye. That's what y'all want to talk about. As soon as we get the money, y'all want to talk about there's other ways of my manhood being measured. But then when we get to the actual problems in the black community that can only be solved with resources, right? Then all of a sudden you guys are like, oh, brothers are dropping out of college and I don't know why. And then BGSIB more responded to me and he would try to talk. It starts at the root and it starts at some other point and in childhood and, behavioral problems. This is what you all sound like. You all sound like white people. And why do I say that you all sound like white people? Because it's precisely what white people do. Right. We want to talk about reparations for slavery. We want to talk about tangibles as, Professor Black Truth talks about. We talk about that. And what do white people do? They dodge the money part. They start talking about, oh, well, you just need the sweet twinkle of Christ in your eye. And it's about morality and it's about behavior and behavioral modifications. And it's all about this. Nobody is saying that that's not important. But you guys always try to use that to overshadow the money aspect. And it's the same thing that the system of white supremacy does. Oh, black guy, you should be able to do with $3 what it takes me $20 to do with. And if you can't do it, shame on you. You didn't pull yourselves up by the bootstraps. You're not working hard enough. You don't have enough personal conviction. Unlike us good white folks, because we're just some hard workers, right? Like that's what they come with. And so you as black men, you do the same thing to yourself. As soon as we start talking about power, resources, economics, opportunity, business opportunities, job opportunities, and the actual goal behind obtaining those things, which ultimately is power, you guys start sounding like, actually, I can't even say you sound like a bunch of women, but you sound like a bunch of men raised exclusively by women. Because when you hear black women having conversations, I'm saying, regardless of how delusional it is, regardless of how much, we know it doesn't increase their value in the sexual marketplace, it's so obvious that the black community has been role reversed. You got black men over here talking about being intrinsically valued, right? Just valued for existing. And then you got the women talking about how they got 6 figures and they a boss bitch. And even when they're not a boss bitch, they're a boss bitch. And there's always this aspiration to achieve and obtain more access to wealth and resources. When women are in their space and talking about female empowerment, black men, on the other hand, you all are talking about being valued spiritually and all this metaphysical bullshit. You out there on some Hotep shit, some black Israelite shit. Where again, you got other countries, other nations, thermonuclear weapons, God particles, hadron colliders, smashing particles together, putting satellites in orbit, claiming celestial bodies, trying to land on Mars, and you all are arguing over who serves, which black man is a godly man and serves the Most High. That ain't gonna get you no goddamn power. For further evidence, I direct you to the condition of black people over the last 2,000 years. Either God hates black people, isn't listening to black people, or is indifferent to black people. So why are you wasting your time? And that whole religious component spills over into this bullshit combined with the matriarchal aspect. Because you know how black women love the church and feelings and everything else like that. They got their own retarded shit. Because then when you try to tell, the women defined by men, how they're perceived or how they're valued and everything, they don't want to hear it. Then they also want to get spiritual, even though they have defined themselves by their careers and we're so educated and we got degrees. Ignore all the debt that we have, but we got degrees. And meanwhile, on the other side, you got black men believing in their own hype. Being sex gods and mandingos and swagnificent, and everything is about, the pussy, like that's literally where black men are. Every time we have a conversation about money or power, there's always a bunch of brothers that will call in these shows. And I know, because I dealt with it freaking over a decade ago. They will call in these shows and start talking about how black men can be valued in other ways. Look, we understand it's a capitalist society. There's stratifications. There's people that's going to make a lot of money. There's people that's not going to make so much money. But you have to establish a standard. This crap that all men are valuable and the man making $25,000 a year is equally as valuable as the man making $200,000 a year is bullshit. It's a lie. I don't know where you all get this. And if you have that type of mentality where you don't have cutoffs, there's no way for you to compete in the global marketplace against other races of men who don't operate like that. We are in dead last place. And yet and still, over a decade later, black men are still sitting around talking like this. And it says to me that these conversations are fruitless. They're fruitless. Because even if you could talk about black women and their behavior and everything, even if, wave the magic wand, black women change their behavior and they're supportive and all that other shit. All you're going to have a dude that's sitting up there saying is, I bag groceries at the grocery store and a woman should get with me even though I don't have the resources to really comfortably support a family. Right? That's what you're going to have. Your son's not going to get a car because you can't afford to help him get a car. Your son's not going to get a laptop or a decent cell phone or whatever because you can't afford it to get him those things. You know what I mean? Other men are going to look at your daughter like she's less than, because of the whole aspect of what that man would actually be marrying into. Because you don't just marry the person, you marry the family. You guys have no pedigree. You're not trying to establish legacies. You guys like throw around legacies and generational wealth and all that shit. You guys throw that around, right? Which ironically, you got in large part from me. You guys just throw that around all willy-nilly. And as one of the pioneers, as one of the originators of these discussions on YouTube, it is highly irritating to hear you guys bastardize the core message, of these conversations. And I'm saying these guys have always been around. These sort of, it's not about the money guys. These guys have always lingered around and they want to, come through with this moral high road. I got the sweet twinkle of Christ. I'm looking at my third eye, Hotep and all this other stuff. And they want to push the idea, many of them because they're past their prime or they're past where they could actually make a financial difference. They're past the years of going to college where they didn't have the support because their father wasn't in the position or present. And so, where you have other people whose parents did the right thing, they're playing catch up to somebody else's starting point. And they don't like the fact that pretty much says that they can only go so far in life. I'm saying realistically. That's why it's so important to lay down the proper foundations for future generations. So that we don't have this, everybody has to start at zero every time somebody's born in the black community. But the way that you guys are talking, you ain't going to gain no power. And the simple fact that, yes, the world is different. Even the white boys are having to deal with this. Women are making money now. Women can be strong and independent. They don't have to be dependent on a man like that. They don't have to negotiate with you like that for their survival. So if we're not working together and we're not savages about making money, which is what the drug dealers are about, which is why a lot of times they get more respect than the working black man, because we don't work together like that. You're not going to get a respect from women who can go out there and they can do better than you. How are you supposed to sit there and talk about your manhood and you a man and all this other stuff, and a black female can go out there and get it more than you? And not just on some individual, no, collectively. Now, again, we know that the numbers don't really support all that and everything, but I'm saying, you have black women out here who are working. Many of the women that are talking a lot of this shit online, and maybe that shouldn't be used because, just like a lot of the other voices online, they're making money off of YouTube. And so that gives them, the financial independence. You know what I mean? But we can talk about the reality that, yes, you have more black men making six figures, and you have more black men that went into STEM and have better jobs and whatnot, and more black men, in such and such a field. We can talk about all that. But the part of when you guys talk about how you want to change this narrative, and the narrative is such a problem, regardless of the fact that we know that there's more black men in a higher financial position than black women, the issue becomes when you get a black woman who is in a high position and is generating significant amount of income. It's always some broke, dusty dude that wants to get up there and start talking about how, it's about his spirituality and how she should be intrinsically valued for merely existing. Me. That bullshit, like what you saw with the Judge Judy crap. Me. And the crazy thing is you guys have short memories, just like you accuse the women of. Because the women will sit there and act like Kevin Samuels, he only addresses black women. First off, black women call in his show. Second off, Kevin Samuels has videos of addressing other races of women. But first off, that's not even his primary audience. He cares about black people, cares about black women. So the focus was on that discussion. Obviously he was, making money and doing his thing. But I'm saying that was the primary core of the discussion. Black people and y'all black women called in his show and you made asses of yourselves. going into the matriarchy and the gynocracy, and y'all thinking that you can pull that to bullshit that you've been pulling in the community on the regular live on a show. That's what was so telling about it. Because you guys, you come in there, it's just like when you used to have Malcolm X sitting up there and he used to have all the, they used to do the talk shows with Malcolm. You know why they don't put any pro-black people on television like that anymore? Because they make an ass out of the white people interviewing them. And white supremacy is like, oh no, we can't have this anymore. Because white supremacy believed its own hype. White supremacy was up there in the 60s, and they were thinking, these Negroes with their tiny Negro brain, watch me outdo them, right? And they would go up there, and then Malcolm X would respond, and they would be like, oh shit, he pulled your bitch ass card. And they would sit there, and they would be, they would again, like when you come with canned responses and you haven't even thoroughly studied your opponent, you're gonna get eaten up. And black women would do the same thing when they call in Kevin Samuel's show. And they would get eaten up. And then they would look bad. And then all the other black women who didn't call in, they were mad because Kevin exposed these women for who they were. The only difference between Kevin Samuels and what I was doing and what Captain Solo was doing, technically speaking, is we were calling into the women's shows. And the women would be like, well, this is my space. And this is my house. And you will respect how we do. Mute, 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 mute. They liberally use that mute button. And Kevin just took that and flipped it. And like, okay, you call me. Lines are open. And the women would call in and think that they were going to overtalk them like how they would do on their own shows, on their own blog talk radio shows or their own YouTube channels and stuff like that. Mute, we don't like what you're saying. Mute. You're not going to overtalk me. See, I hate when these dusty niggas come in here and they think that they're just going to lay out the law and just see that's that misogyny, that's that misogynoir. And Kevin flipped that. But there's another point I was going to make about brothers and Kevin and just how they move and operate and do things. And damn, what was I going to say about brothers? Oh, yeah, the short memory. Like Kevin, again, that show that Kevin did, and it's probably still out there somewhere, where he was addressing black men, and the very comments and statements that I was hearing on the Dr. T. Hassan Johnson show, the brothers calling in and brothers writing in the comment section, what the how do I want to say this? I'm going blank. Oh, I remember. Those type of comments were the exact type of comments that Kevin was receiving, and Kevin threw his hands up. He was like, God damn, if this is what we're coming with, this is not what defines a high value man. You had brothers that literally were calling the show, well, Kevin, I serve the Most High, so that makes me a high value. This is literally what brothers were saying. I serve an imaginary being, right? Because I'm of a particular faith, and all of you are supposed to respect that. I haven't done anything. I haven't accomplished anything. I haven't achieved anything. I haven't shown my works, but I can simply stand here and state I serve the Most High. Despite the fact that the community is broken, we got police brutality, right? Can't seem to do anything about that, right? We got the narco economy in the black community, lack of economic opportunities, right? Still affected by the legacy of redlining, blockbusting, everything. All these issues don't control the economic landscape. Asians and Indians and Dominicans and all other groups, Chinese people, they just show up in the black community and set up shop, right? No banks in your community. So you go over to their Western Union and their check cashing places and they take 10% out of your check, right? But you brother, you serve the Most High. You serve the Most High. That's your argument. Fuck you and the Most High. I don't understand what you all don't understand about what it truly means to be powerless. Powerless. You got brothers running around, they used to run around, the black woman is God, but they don't say the black man is God. You know what makes somebody a God? A God is a being that can mold his environment. That is what a God is. And black men, y'all don't get that. And this is the effeminate nature of black men in America. This is the effeminate nature. This is your weak spot. This is the kink. This is the weakness in your armor that especially the black feminist will capitalize on. Because everything that you say about black women, their belligerence, their attitudes, all the issues about everything that you say about black women is 100% spot on. But the minute that she gets to the minute they get to what you don't do as a man, it's over. It's over. And not only what you don't do as a man, what you're not even trying to do. Because you're trying to freaking argue, and you're trying to justify, and you're trying to rationalize you not having to do anything and to be valued intrinsically. The whole ass backwardsness of the black community is black men want to be valued as women are, and black women want to be valued and recognized as men are. And the crazy part is nobody is truly satisfied with that. The men want to be valued like women intrinsically, but then they get mad when they're not respected. The women want to be respected and recognized, but then they're mad when they're not found desirable or beautiful or attractive or feminine. I'm like, well, why don't you get up, you sit over here, you get up and you sit over here. That's all I got to do. Switch the goddamn seats. But no. You switch the seats, the men start bitching about, well, I want a woman to want me for me. How come I have to provide? If I stop providing, I don't have any value. Right? And then the woman, right, she's in the passenger seat, right? Being provided for and taken care of, and she starts bitching, this is oppressive. Why? Because I can't control the pedestal. I'm like, so let me get this right. So the dude built you a pedestal, and now you're being recognized, and you're beautiful and everything else, and you're lusted and you're desired, and you're the arm candy and everything else. Yeah, yes, but I want to be the arm candy that calls the shots. I'm like, arm candy doesn't call the shots. You know what I'm saying? You like wifey rides in the passenger seat. She don't drive in the. I want to be like Nicki Minaj with Pettiford. What is his name? Petty. Whatever his name is, in the passenger seat, snarling at the camera. That's what I want to do. I want to be in my own Rolls Royce. I want to pull the big dick. I'm like, you know what? Both of you need to be alone. Plain and simple. Both of your fucked up asses need to be alone. Because nothing can be done with this. It's just a bunch of miserable people that are going to produce fucked up children. And any black person has got any goddamn sense and understands their sexual orientation and the role that it imparts on their gender, they're going to be over the fence. They're going to be over the fence. Because I don't think anybody should have to look for a needle, in a haystack. Fuck, I mean, look for a needle in a needle factory. Why look for a needle in a haystack? I don't know why this continues to happen. It's you cannot do anything with this. Independent of black women, black men need to pursue power. Power. And the medium of exchange to power is currently money. We can talk about, there's different ways of power. And yeah, we get that. Whether you control minerals or resources or land and all this other stuff. But money is the medium of exchange. That's the medium of exchange. And if you can't even straighten that out and obtain that primarily, then everything else is off. What land do you think you're going to own without the purchasing power and the financial ability to actually purchase the land? Y'all talking about land. What is the medium of exchange? Money. So it's and then there's no forward thinking. We still got people talking about, mom and pop shops in the black community and controlling the landscape, like as though black people are going to open up a whole bunch of Chinese stores and start serving themselves. Yeah, that's one way to do it, but that's small time. No, what black folks should be focusing on is they should be focusing on things like, the software engineering, AI production, artificial intelligence, writing code, not rhymes, right? Apps, these sort of things to get the money and then being able to branch out into other areas. Because the tech industry is one of the beautiful thing about tech is that when it comes to tech, all you need is basically, a laptop and some Wi-Fi. And it's about the knowledge that's in your head that you can put into code, on a computer to produce something that's useful in cyberspace. You don't even have to produce it in reality. It's in cyberspace. When y'all in the shade room, I'm sorry, is there a factory that known as the shade room that produces anything? No, the shade room is owned by a Nigerian woman who I think she's like net worth is like 20 million. It's owned by a Nigerian woman, and black people have all the discussions in that cyberspace. Right? So how is she making the money? What does she produce? Obviously advertisements. Right? Anytime you generate that amount of traffic, right? Companies are going to come at you because they want to be able to advertise their products to that concentration of people, that population. That's where the money comes from. So this idea that you have to have a brick and mortar store, selling, whatever, you know what I mean? Like you guys aren't thinking, 21st century. But I keep hearing these brothers that keep talking about the lack of importance of money. You guys keep talking about that. You guys keep trying to dodge these responsibilities. And while you're trying to dodge, the responsibility, it's like you're not going to get the leadership. And the women, they want you to take on the responsibility without having the leadership component in control. So I'm like, these two people are utterly incompatible. You know what I'm saying? These problems that we have, could be solved, yes, with folks with the right mindset. But it's not just about just a mind. Like y'all want a mindset that doesn't produce anything. You want people to change their behavior, when the conditions remain the same. That's not going to happen. You do have to change the conditions. Now, I don't know if black women are beyond that point. I don't know. It sure feels like it. Because there are going to be a ton of women, and there are, who basically, whatever black men bill put together or whatever, they have a fundamental issue with a black male leadership. Like that bullshit that Amy Loho pulled, even with her own man, she with a man, and I forget what it was something like he checked somebody, and then Amy Loho had to make it a point that I am not your property. That type of dumbass shit. Bitch, what the fuck are you doing? The fuck are you doing? Only for black women to turn around and the black woman is not protected. Then when the black man protects you, I must let you know that I am not your property. Bitch, get the fuck out the car. Get the fuck out of the car. That's why I have to have my own, like all that crap. We don't know when to cut people off when they need to be cut off. But anyway, I'm done. I'm so irritated, because, like we have not moved forward. Like black men, like the bottom line is black men, y'all are just as bad as the women. You want everybody to feel good. You want everybody to be accepted. You don't want to have a cutoff that says you need to be at this level. If you are not at this level, you can't come. It's just like that in the movie 300 with the hunchback. And he wanted to be a soldier and be a part of the phalanx. And he couldn't because he was a hunchback. He was too short. He couldn't protect the man standing next to him because he couldn't hold the shield up high enough. That means somebody could come over the top with a spear. That was not about him and, oh, he's a failure and this, that, and third. No, it's about the man standing next to you. This cannot be accomplished with weak links. And black men don't know how to create these sorts of cutoffs. You know what I mean? Like y'all be out there, we go into war and shit like that, and y'all out there trying to include fat soldiers and shit like that. You know what I mean? A motherfucker just trailing in the back. Then he collapses. Then 3 soldiers are down because it's taking 3 guys to pick his ass up and carry him, to some other spot or location. You gotta cut the fat. And it seems, and black men, I hate to say it, but when it comes to the money, y'all just as bad as the women. When the women, are on the beauty tip. They're like, no, all women are beautiful and we're all 10s and plus size women this and women who don't want to wear makeup are included and transgender women are included and we're all beautiful and we're all desirable and we're all 10s and nobody should feel left out. And when we get to the money discussion, that's what y'all niggas sound like. And nobody should be left out. And I don't care if you're making $2 an hour. It doesn't matter. You're still a man. You're still valued and respect. I'm like, again, even Kevin has said this. Y'all sit there and y'all want to mourn about Kevin's death, and you're not even grabbing his own principles. A high value man is a man, and I forget all the list of criteria he had, but I remember one of the primary ones is useful to others. Useful to others. And the primary way, and again, I saw this, with mentoring black boys, primary way that black men think that they can be useful is running their goddamn mouth.
Well, I gave those boys words of encouragement. I inspired them,
right? And then we get into the business of inspiration.
You see, the problem is you need to get your mind right.
Right? I'm like, you all sound like white supremacists that don't want to cut the check for reparations. It's like nobody wants to pay. Like, things require resources, which requires your time and your energy to gain those resources and then to utilize those resources. Like we used to say years ago, you could come into a community and you could tell people, the Most High says everybody get to the left side of the road. Right? And you could argue maybe 80%, 70% of the people just simply will get to the left side of the road because, you said that the Most High said it. So they get to the left side of the road. Or you could say, fuck all these motherfuckers. You go and you buy a jack, you jack up the right side of the road, and whether you believe in the Most High or not, everybody's going to slide to the left side of the road. That is power. That's what you all fail to comprehend. When you want to talk about the race soldiers and these white police officers and racism and the enforcement arm and the government and everything else, that is power. They are forcing you. It's in the term enforcer. They are forcing you to do as whatever the rules of the land are. It's by force. Which means they have the numbers and they obviously have the resources when it comes to all their equipment and everything else that they utilize to force your ass, whether it's guns or body armor or MRAPs or squad cars or SWAT teams or whatever the hell it is. It's by force. Now, granted, when you're talking about internally within the community, I don't want to have to twist or force any black woman's arm, to have to do anything. She should be able to recognize the benefits. But the detractors, you know what I mean? The people that think that they're going to be radical and, they want to, do some alternative shit and everything else. No, they're going to have to be forced to conform. This is how power moves. But you don't want to understand that. In large part because you don't want to, you think like women. You want this all inclusivity and you shouldn't have to make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. And we should just be able, and if they don't get their mind right, I guess we can't do anything. I guess we're just going to sit here and with our hands folded because we can't do anything. Because we're not willing to do anything. Whether and I'm saying that, force, by physically, that should be a means of last resort. But you should be able to use, your resources, your money to do things. Again, going back to what I said about Dr. T. Hassan Johnson and his point about brothers not being able to finish college and stuff like that. That's a resource problem. See, if the father was the breadwinner in the home and there's a boy in the family and he needs to finish college but doesn't have the financial support, all that upfront money that you have to have, for undergraduate education, then a man could come in and step in and be like, all right, look, I got you. Finish, make sure you handle that, pass all your courses, moving on. I see that happen so often in freaking other communities. You got Asians and Indians, that literally they went to medical school and came out with no debt. And most of that money came from out of the black community, from the bodegas and the corner stores and the gas stations that they owned and operated right in the black community, right in your face. And you act like women and children don't see that. How can you be a black woman and respect a black man when literally other races of men are operating right in your midst? I'm not saying that a feminist cares either way. An extreme feminist doesn't care. A For Harriet doesn't care. A Cynthia G doesn't care. But she will throw that busy assignment at you. Because, again, it's the weak point in your armor. But to a woman who's not that radical, I totally understand why that would leave her feeling some type of way. Because you show me where any other race of man lets anybody else come into their space and set up shop and run shit. You already know that you can't take your black ass to Chinatown or Koreatown or the Jewish community and set up shop and sell them shit in their neighborhoods. But yet all of them can come into the black community and set up shop, and y'all just act like it's normal. Then have the audacity to turn around and start bitching about why you're not respected. As long as black men are on this shit, you all can talk to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson all day until you're blue in the face and boo-hoo and talk about misandry and these black women and they make us feel bad and SYSBM and that's why I gotta go get a white woman because these black women, they just so terrible to us and they just makes us feel so bad. That's what y'all sound like. Look, I don't like it either. I don't like hearing their bullshit either. And I know a lot of it is bullshit. But again, there's areas that you're not going to be able to dodge. Regardless of how much you feel that she's not making arguments in good faith. Again, as we've always said, you know what I'm saying? Close those gaps and then they got nowhere to go. See, if you got your shit together and a bitch isn't cooperating, what is she going to say? You don't have your shit together? What is she going to do? See, she's used to saying that when it comes to dusties and dudes that don't have their shit together. But as soon as you have your shit together, see, now you can expose the fact that, nah, bitch, this isn't about dudes not having their shit together. This is about the fact that you ain't trying to cooperate or follow. You know what I'm saying? All this talk about what they're not receiving and the black woman is not valued. Chick, I chose you. I want to be with you. I got the shit laid out. I don't have you in poverty. We live in comfortable, what gives? And now you can dive into the fact that she's got issues. But you're not going to be able to do that when you got her in struggle. You're not going to be able to point that out. Again, that's the weakness in their armor. Their lack of cooperation when dudes are in the position. But see, you're not going to be able to expose that. You're not going to be right. You're not going to be able to say, aha, I knew it. You're not going to be able to do that unless you're in the proper position. And I don't know why we keep having, and because I'm saying, like, this is already a new generation. Like when so when I came online, there's guys that, I don't know, they were probably like, they were kids. They were like 10 years old. Now they're grown. And yet this conversation about it's not about the money, it persists. Because brothers don't want to feel inadequate and feel bad about where they are. It's amazing how we can be savages when it comes to everything. We can be savages on the football field. We can be savages, in the rap game, right? We can be savages on the basketball court. But when it comes to other areas, how about being savages of controlling the economic landscape of your own community? How about being savages of actually establishing what looks to be like a black Chinatown? How about being savages about that shit? No, we can't do that. How about being savages about having a reputation that we work together like a motherfucker? How about being savages about that shit? No, can't do that shit. Nah, we just want to be savages about big dicks and swag and blacked.com and going out here and getting with non-black women and being sex gods and all that shit. And I'm saying, like, TikTok, like, eventually, because of all the social media, our sorry ass reputation, if it's not already out, which I think, to the people that are actually conscious and aware, it is already out. But I'm saying, our reputation of just how unproductive and shitty we actually are, I don't know what, the media's got y'all twisted. Y'all see Future in a rap video and, he getting bitches, and y'all think that that's a reflection of you and that you're going to be able to go out there and do the same thing. As soon as word really gets out there, and I'm saying it really is already out there. But even when it comes to the brothers that are, productive, because even, a lot of educated dudes, some of them, they embellish their stories. I'm like, it ain't happening like that. You're out there by yourself. And any woman who's keen on the fact that you're out there by yourself, even though you may have a high paying job, that shit doesn't start looking real appealing. Because you can say what you want. When some of these sisters go out here and get with these other men, those men do have a network. Now, whether they accept the fact that he's with a black woman or not, or whether that somehow diminishes his network, who knows? But I'm saying he at least actually has one or started with one. But when it comes to us, where's our network? We don't seem to have these networks. And as soon as people realize that you out there by your motherfucking self, you know what I'm saying? I'm seriously, get ready to be all types of disrespected. Because at the end of the day, they know that there's not going to be a response. It's just like my man, said, talking about, these New York niggas down in the South. Your body ain't got no name on it. Oh, okay, yeah. So what if we kill this motherfucker, right? Let's kill this motherfucker right now. What's gonna happen? Ain't nobody coming to find us. Ain't nobody coming to enact revenge. Who is this motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? White supremacy. When you want to talk about the Jim Crow era and the Ku Klux Klan and all that other stuff. When you look at the way that they had the court systems and that nigga guilty, I got the rope right here, all that stuff. They were all in cahoots with one another. They were networking. White supremacy is a system. It is organization. It is cooperation. It is interdependence. There's power in that. If white people acted like black people, there would have never been any Jim Crow. You know, they were like, oh, did you hear? Miss Betsy got killed the other day. Oh well. You know, damn, that's unfortunate. No, they was on some. We gotta hang it tonight. We gotta find this nigga. Even though it was probably a white person, but they're gonna blame it on black people, and they're all gonna be in cahoots with it. That's power. But we don't seem to understand it, and I cannot emphasize this enough. I'm not gonna sit around and continue to argue with black men about. As soon as I hear that, and I mean, the brother literally said it. You know, we value innately or intrinsically, whatever the word he said. I'm sitting there, I'm like, for real, for just existing. He literally said, for just existing. We do have value. I get the fact that you're trying to counter the fact that black women are running around, niggas ain't shit. I get that. But to take it to the extreme of, you know, we do have value, brothers, for just existing. For just existing? Nigga, you went too far. That's too far. That's one step too far. Nigga, you could have stopped that. Yeah, we ain't shit. Like fuck that. You know what I mean? But to sit there and act like, you know, you just literally, you know, exist in a vacuum and you have value, like you were born in the cosmos like some sort of celestial. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, get out of here. Anyway, I'm done. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. That's my video. SWP out.